Welcome back. Here we are again with the Zephyr. A couple developments. Obviously, we got it primered. I want to talk a little bit about that. The reason I didn't show it being primered. I did not roll the product on the way that we got the kit. It was advertised as that, and it works awesome, but I needed to knock this out. I had a window of opportunity, so I sprayed this on with this cheapy spray gun. I'll probably be able to find it in a little bit. I got everything packed because we're moving back and forth, different shops, but Zephyr's looking good. Come in a little bit closer. The only thing we showed with the primer was a quick walk around on the last video, so it laid out really well. It was sprayed, but you could see here, like, there's a lot of areas after the sandblast that are gonna have to get body worked. That's lead, but I didn't want the car to be in bare steel anymore. So engine's out. There's a lot of details, especially in this firewall area I'm gonna do today. A lot of loose ends. So, yeah, maybe it'll just be a music video. I don't know. The whole goal here is our time in the desert is waning. We have this summer. I got Little Jewel rolling. Little Jewel's going to come to this shop. So the Zephyr and Primer now can spend some time at our house under a cover, should it need to, during the summer. It'll be back here over the winter. But yeah, we want to get this thing rolling. I'm just going to work on the tedious stuff right now today. But I wanted to share one other thing. Cool, yeah, just checking out the primer a little bit better now that it's cured out. It did work really well. This is an epoxy primer from Eastwood, and it's very easy to mix. 1 part paint, 1 part catalyst, or rather 1 part primer, 1 part catalyst. But see, I'm gonna have to do a lot of work in the fenders, in here, trim those motor mounts where they're marked, etc. That's got to be done, so that's what we're up to today. I want to mention one thing. Even though this was sprayed on, it took me a second, and you know what? I'm no painter, and I'm not shy either. Let's examine. I was able to lay out that roof really well, and then I stepped into this door all hasty, and I ran the heck out of the door jamb. And then, this is why you didn't see it in the video, I sagged out that door just royally. So that's just one problem. The rest of the car, okay. I walked over, so I shot the roof. I came around here, hit that, and then I was like, I'm really gonna load it. Walked away, and that's what happened. Hey, amateur stuff. But on the bright side, I'm ordering air. Oh look, it's the Zephyr steering wheel. Found it, so that's a cool thing. It was in a box, very safe. We don't have the steering shaft that matches this, so it's a slightly tapered fit with a key, but I know a machinist. I think now we all know a machinist. So I'm gonna bring this shaft and this steering wheel. I'm gonna have him, Marty, if you're watching. We're gonna need some threads. We're going to need a taper. We're going to need a keyway. All right, we'll get that steering wheel in place. I'm also looking for a seat. That's why there's not a lot of progress. I ordered the airline fittings for the bags. We still need a ton of stuff there, but yeah, here we go. All day today is inside this. Whoosh. Then we're gonna get back to the bug next week. I promise you, we're not forgetting about this thing. Just want to get the Zephyr outside under a cover when I need it to, and we're going to send the transmission to the shop. Pretty cramped quarters working in this engine bay. Just shows you how narrow this V12 was. It's probably long and narrow. A lot more narrow than my hips. But we put this Mustang 2 cross member in, so people are asking, why am I dealing with this exhaust? Why don't I push the engine forward? That's because the cross member and the oil pan, I don't want to get involved with modifying either of those. So this is a big car. I can move the driver's seat back a little bit if I need the footroom. So simplicity and the look. Like, it's a Ford engine. It's got the distributor in the front, so we don't have to cut any of this. So I just brought the valve covers for a nice clean look right up against that. Another thing, see, I'm going to clamp all this and weld it. We got to close this. So I think we're welded on the inside in here, like on the interior side. So I think I'm going to trim this back, this flange here. You see the space. I'm trying to eliminate all these spaces, you know. So we do put some filler, just looks sculpted. So let's work on this shape. I got a piece of cardboard. Or paper. Yeah, that looks cool. So let's just pull this. Yeah. Cool. So just a quick representation of this curve. And we are back in the dog days of summer. Here we are, June 1st. It was 94 yesterday. And this shop is nice. We don't have the desert elements, but still, it was pretty stifling. I don't want to divulge, not really interested in divulging too much about the location, but it's hot. We are at a higher elevation than the desert, but when the sun's beating down, and this shop has got high ceilings and insulation in the roof, but we're gonna have to figure something out. All right, cool. I'm just looking across the back side of this. That's going to be another quick measurement because we want to come in. I'll explain in just a moment. So you want to fit it inside that, right? And now I could just push on this to get that line. I got a nice dent. And I bought a new broom. So that's good news. I'll be able to clean up as I move along. Cool. Yeah, so that's there. That's that. And then here, the bottom side, that's going to come right through like that. Another dent. Yeah. So there's a lot of ideas about this little space. This little cavity. I don't know, did somebody say contraband? I can't even remember. It's going to be a hollow space. Cool, I'm gonna get the grinder, trim this, and then I'm gonna cut this out of sheet metal. Right there, you gotta give a little to get a little. That should roll right up. All right, let me get this set. I'll tack this, and then we're gonna clamp and weld. Yeah, cool. We got that, that. All right. Just gonna cut this with the Beverly shear. Really cleaned the heck out of this shop yesterday. Small shop. Confined space, it still gets messy and super quick at that. So moved everything around, dusted it out. We're back in service. Cut this. So when I'm using the shear, I do a lot of back and forth like you just saw. As I mentioned, I'm not really a fan of how it distorts the steel. I'm trying to minimize that all the time. See, like I did half a cut And I was like, wait, it's gonna turn this thing into a big coil of steel. So, like this mark here, right? Watch how much it's gonna wanna spin this thing. So I'm keeping it all the way up in the end of the blade, trying to get that to come around. But this machine is just not gonna afford that. So I'll just sneak up from this side and see how much it curves it. Just, you know, it works. It's just in a perfect world, I would just lay this on a plaza table. We cut it perfect. All right, quick bop with the hammer, flatten it out. So that sheet metal is just, you know, a loose mock-up. I'm gonna try to get in here and really just, should have brought the long clamps. See? Always something. Yeah, I'll bring those together nice. I'm just gonna try to work out this corner here. I'm gonna put this behind and this. See if I can't just try to rotate this down. Yeah, I thought I was gonna have to clamp that, but it locked right in. So let's check this. Yeah. So yeah, this fit up here looks perfect. But of course I forgot a marker. You know what, I might just weld this in place. I can see right through here. Yeah, let me grab a marker. Yeah, it's interesting how I made that cut and it worked out perfect. See, it receives that piece right there. So I'm gonna mark it from underneath. Just gonna put that marker in here. It's quite a bit off, I'm seeing. Yeah, see that much. So let's bring this to here. Straighten that up. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's flush right there. Now we're gonna take this. Do that. And this is 18 gauge, so it's definitely thicker than it needs to be, but it's also stronger. Cool. Yeah, that'll work out good. Quick tap tap. Just take off a little bit more right through here. I'd rather this be a little bit short than tall, because we're trying to make this, all this kind of roll down. Make it look as neat as possible. Cool, there it is. Time to weld. What I'm gonna do is set this in place. I'm gonna come up here, and I'm gonna spread the heat around. This is gonna be gotten from underneath, I think, because it's still, this is the structure. But I need to weld this, and the top here isn't welded. That's what I was saying about pulling the engine out, just a lot of loose ends. And you want it real tidy when you open the hood. Yeah. Just like that. Cool. Yep. Heat on the welder's good. Cool. Now we got that touching. Let's take this. We'll start working it into shape. One thing to note while I'm welding this is I'm hitting it like this because I'm wanting that weld to penetrate and go inside so I can grind this down nice. So I'm putting some heat to it. in a way that it's going all the way through, because I don't just want a spot weld on top. This is going to get ground out nice. So you see the spot welds are pretty pronounced. So I'm pushing the molten steel. You can see the bead is inside as big as the red is on the outside. Pushing it right till it's about to drop away. See that? So it just created a hole. So I know that that's all the way through. Now that really is just for this fact that it's going to get ground out 100% flat. And it's an outside corner. So yeah, I'm really putting the heat into it. So if you do burn through like that, move to the next. Right. That noise you just heard was me going down into the whatever that coating is on the frame, tar board or something. I'm gonna come straight across the top of this. We'll get into that side. Yeah, if you could see this setup, I got 2 cameras, a light, all my tools, a welder, my big body. Everything is piled on top of each other. We're gonna make it. All for the sake of the story. Get this corner locked. The firewall and the stuff I added are both pretty substantial, so I'm not concerned with it warping right here. I went in and ground that whole surface I welded while it was cooling off. I'm not sure how much we could see on the camera, but that's why it looks different. We're gonna set up the driver's side now, and same story, a little bit different approach, as per the usual. Short for usual, you know. It's like a hip way to talk, yeah. Because that's who I am, hip. So you got this here, and you got this here, right? So that's gonna be the brake line. That's where, not the brake line like the brakes, but the brake like the sheet metal brake, like the bend. You know why? Imagine a flat plane, not an airplane, and not like the Great Planes, like a flat, sorry, I'm getting carried away. Imagine a flat plane that comes through like this, right? Bada bing. That's where it's gonna bend. Boom, boom. Always think about that. So we're gonna come in here like this, and I'm just going to push it, right? That's our inside right here. Get my marker, so we're gonna hold fast right there. And I'm gonna take this as my other appendage, and I'm gonna push it right there, like that, right into the corner. And I watched where that kinked. It was kinking right there. Can you dig it? I know you can. Now I'm folding this under, and we're gonna make a couple of reference points right here on the car. All right. So we're gonna cut. I'm gonna cut. I know. It's a loose assembly. That's how we do it. We're gonna hit it. We're gonna trim it. We're gonna stick it back in place. Actually, I think let's fold this. What do we have? We need a nice edge to push this against. I don't have anything. This is one of the things when you're underneath the vehicle or inside like this, you're going to look for anything to work with. Yeah, let's just do that. We got the fold. It's going to be more precise in the steel as usual, but let's just say that's going to determine our official brake. Hit it there. Hit it there. I like it. Take the marker and trace this side, just like we did before. Before meaning on the opposite side of the car. See this little plate here? I just like the look of that. It looks factory, you know, you got these two details, so that's why this steps out. So I'm gonna trim it because we're gonna weld right to that. We come in, and again with this, I'm gonna stay on the inside of the marker because we want it to be a little smaller so it falls in, similar to what we achieved. And I'll show the grinding and how well it worked out by welding it the way I did. Yeah, cool. All right, so we got that, and now what's happening here? We're gonna end it here. I think I'm gonna come right back up to that. Bada boom. Like so, like so. Yeah, and then this comes in right to that rip. We're gonna aim our scissors with the greatest of skill. And I'm gonna put this paper right there so I don't lose it. Let's see what we're dealing with. From that to that. Yeah, that'll work. Cool, yep. I like it. And it's definitely tall. Bring that down. Bring that, yeah. Cool. I'm just gonna do a quick marker line back here. Anyone gets the next step? All together. Let's go to the table. This will be a little easier to cut in the Beverly shear because this will be our only problem area right there. The rest are nice straightish shots. Prepare for shear cam. Jamie has really been considering the way that I'm doing this very, very basic 2-camera thing. And she's been doing some shopping. And I think we've come to a conclusion of a better way to film this. So the last video looked kind of foggy and low resolution. And I think my camera's wearing out. So we're gonna come up with a little better stuff in the very near future. You'll see how I made that little relief. Trying to turn this corner without bending it up too much. But we know we're gonna have to trim it by hand. So I'm gonna call that good enough for now. We're gonna trim it with the hand shear in the vehicle. Ooh, we forgot to bend it on the sheet metal brake. Everybody knows the drill, right? I'm gonna make a line, I'm gonna bend it. I'll be right back. Hey look, just like that. I made a line and I bent it. Magic. Yeah. There's a little weirdness right here, but I'm gonna hammer that from the inside to make it happen. And I'm also gonna take the top off of this. Yeah, like that, right? Cool. You set up that welder. So, of course, this isn't a perfect fit, right? I'm already noticing a little loose here, right? So, again, I don't thrive in a perfect world situation. I thrive in that risk zone. So we're gonna hit it right here, tack it. Risk meaning anything could go wrong. All right, so we got that stuck. I'm gonna try to favor this in. Oh, there, see, there it is. The risk just paid off, right there. Melting it right in. All right, we got this little fuzzy area right here. Fuzzy meaning what's gonna happen. Could go any way, so. That's it. It's gonna work. So we got our weld on top and a big gap. So I'm just gonna smooth it right in. Maybe I'll hit this one coming down. With this, always putting the heat on the bead you just created, not on the sheet metal. So you're pushing that bead down.
See, now that we're running out of sheet metal, it's starting to become increasingly hot. That's it. We set up a nice landing pad. We're coming up. We're going to keep the angle very upright. The angle of the torch. Just letting that metal fill and fall down. So that we're good, and you got a really good solid metal connection. All right, so this is low. We got to hit this up. There it is, and that's going to go in. Yep, that looks good. So hit it right in the middle and then spread out the love. So like that. So you got 2 layers of floor at this point. I'm trying to join it all. So what I'm seeing is another mismatch up here. You're not really reading that on the camera, I bet, but I'm gonna take a tool and I'm gonna spike that right in against the firewall. You grab the hammer and the big old chisel. So with the motion camera, see that gap I'm describing? So we're gonna try to remedy that by bashing it with something heavy, in layman's terms. Oh yeah, let's go for mega zoom. Let's go right into the action, folks. So see that gap? Could be big trouble because, see if I can get a finger on the pulse. Where are we? Our crease is moving this way, right? So it's gonna try to radius. My attempt is to radius that out and just close that gap against the firewall. In a very quick assessment of what I had to work with, I chose this little wood chisel. Why? Because we want maximum impact on a small area. So I'm gonna set this in place and I wanna hit it that way. Easier said than done because I'm right-handed and I'm facing left. I'm gonna hit it with the big fat side of the hammer so I don't bust my knuckles. Ta-da. I'm going to trap that, and then we're going to work this out and cut it off. When I say trap it, I mean weld it. There's a buckle here, but I can work that out, so we're going to cut that off. So I'm just going to lock this out. We don't want it to kink through here. Right. So now we want to push this in. And I should probably do this with a wider chisel, but I definitely don't want to hit it like that. We want a controlled strike. So I'm actually going to hit this big aluminum block up against it. And I think it's pretty readable in the way that I work. I could have set this up like to perfection. Spent a lot more time. But as I put it together, it still might not have fit. Because that's the nature of things, right? So I got a weird little bump right here. Now I'm going to use the large blocko. Send it. So I just cut that off, and this is gonna move this way. Yeah, worked out good. All right, so let's see, if I push this in, yep. I'm gonna try to grab it right at the very end with the weld. And that'll give us the ability to start the hammer and then trim it in. All right, so what I'm doing is just using my knee and this hammer handle. I'll just try to put that right in there. Yep. A nice heavy weld. So that's locked. Let me block this out. Here. See, I'm really pushing that weld right in. And the extra bit of sheet metal sitting here is assisting that. But in a few more inches, it's going to be way too tall. Cool. Now I'll just grab that grinder. So you can see here how much taller it is. It's not a perfect world. The cardboard template isn't always correct. Got most of that major stuff out the way. Do a quick cleanup on the corner with this. And again, we'll do a nice penetrating weld. Actually, something feels off balance here. You just lump this in. Yeah. That worked out perfect. Now we're going to be careful here because we don't want to open this gap up. You'll see when I weld, it's going to open. The goal is to keep it in shape. We might have to hammer. Let's see what we need to do. Hit it right in the center first. Worked out good. So this is something to think about. When I just ground that, you're sharpening these edges to a point, right? So I'm going to weld right here. I'm going to blow this open with the weld, and then we'll talk on that. Because it's really an outside corner thing. Like, you're super prone to grinding this off and having no strength. So I'm going to go in. Wow, that worked great. Never mind. That was ideal right there, that amount of heat. Because see, it's a very flat weld. That weld went underneath. I'm just going to keep on with that. Maybe we'll experience a problem. Maybe we won't. Sure didn't. Let's try it up here. Yeah, it worked out darn good. Let's carry on. Yes. Little issue here. Take this away with the cutoff wheel. I like it. See if we can get a little more of this from the top before we gotta crawl down. So that is one of the cooler things about this flexible tip. I got this angle perfect when I'm sitting on top while I'm working underneath. All right, I'm gonna let this camera roll. It's gonna be very loud because I'm gonna grind all this out. Let me raise this up, because then we're kind of off to the finish for this day, I think. I time-lapse a lot of this stuff simply because to me it's boring, but I think it warrants doing a real time for once, because people might get turned off. I know at first when I was doing heavy bodywork or fabrication, I could spend an entire day grinding. So don't get discouraged if it takes a long time. So this is a good tactic, especially in sheet metal, because you don't want to take the strength away. That was the whole idea with welding it the way I did. So I just skinned it off, even with the surface, only scratches on that. I didn't dig out the sheet metal. Now I'm going to do it on this surface. And then I'll blend it with the softer disc, like a 40 grit flat disc. And another question people might be asking, why am I using the disc upside down? I find that flipping it it brings that to a point and it grinds it a lot better than if you just get that one-sided just wear pattern. So that's just the way I do it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. But man, when you flip it, this thing cuts like a ninja. And I understand some of the discs are rotation oriented, so don't do as I say or as I do. Yeah, so see, as soon as I hit that sheet metal, I stop, and now I'm just going to flatten out all this. Without going far into the weld. That way when I take the soft disc, it'll dress it up. And while we're waiting, I got that welded really nice. I'm going to blast this side. Last but not least is just to, it's going to be a lot of structural welding in here now. I'm going to catch that steering column heim joint brace thing. And I got to weld both sides of that big plate I was just doing the top of. Let's try to, there will be gussets added as well. Thing got tacked in. Yeah, I just want to repeat that I am really satisfied with this welder. It does everything I need it to. I had someone claiming that I needed to have a different process for welding this metal. Flux core was what they were saying, and I'm going to vehemently disagree. Where they were getting at with the flux core was the polarity of the torch settings and then the thickness of the metal. So say I got 3/16 plate here and my amperage and the wire speed and heat setting, voltage in this case, are on a certain value that I may not be getting full penetration welds, but you're not considering the intended use of this. For instance, the way that I'm welding here, I don't need a full penetration weld. You know, look at the heat affected zone from the weld. That's a substantial amount of heat into that. So this is so thick, the car doesn't even need this material this thick. It's just what I used. So if you don't have a full penetration weld on certain parts of this project, it's not going to matter. Look, this is wrapped. It's completely encased with good welds all through. So simply because it says one thing on paper with the proper root gap, etc., doesn't mean it's going to fail. How do I know? Experience. I haven't had anything structural break, because typically what I'm doing is completely overkill. I love that word. So yeah, gussets around everything next. More welding. All right, that's what we did today. It's pretty warm. I don't want to hop back in that engine bay. We got a lot of heat, and I'm not trying to burn myself or get cut. So tedious, yeah. Hope you learned something. I know I did. don't touch the hot metal. See you next time.